Okay, so good morning everyone. Good morning Deka Sahab, good morning Vikram. So before I start, I again thank Brahmaputra Board and National Water Academy Central Water Commission for giving me this opportunity to come here and share my knowledge on the topic with all of you. Hope it will be useful. And the topic today is of contract management in infrastructure projects, disputes and resolutions. It was only contract or tender management, but I have slightly amplified the topic that was given to by NWA was contract oblique tender management. I have slightly amplified it, and I thought that disputes and resolutions, because this forms a very important part, and whenever any engineer is faced with disputes, then it becomes a difficult situation. So we will also be focusing on that. So to begin with, yesterday we saw what is the full life cycle of a contract. Yesterday we had dealt with when we were discussing challenges. So the objective of this lecture is that we will understand full life cycle from the point of view of managing a contract. Then identify key risks and mitigation studies. Yesterday we discussed about some risks, for example PQ pitfalls, etc. But then we will further explore those risks, then ensure compliance with legal and ethical standards. During the course of execution of a work, what are the compliances that we must ensure as an organization which is engaging some contractor? What are his and what are our responsibilities? Then improve coordination, documentation and dispute handling. This coordination and documentation is very important. Normally it is ignored. Coordination becomes especially very important when there are subcontractors engaged. And documentation, because that becomes the bedrock of all the things which will come post completion of the work. That will only be seen. What you are saying at some later date, human memory is fallible, it is mistake prone, right? So what is clearly documented remains the knowledge for the posterity to come and learn. So type of contracts in infrastructure, you already know: item rate contract, lump sum contract, EPC also you are aware. But nowadays, where more resources are required, particularly financing, etc., we are now going for PPP models, public private partnership, where resources of both public and private entrepreneurs is pooled in. And so some of the models are BOT, DBFOT, HAM. What are they? Yesterday I just gave you one slide, but today we will go into slightly more details on this, and then key differences. We will look at what are the differences among these different types. So this is overview of PPP models in India. Now there are basically 4 types of PPP models. One is asset creation models, that is BOT, BOOT, BOO and BOLT. What are their full forms? We will go to the next slide and explore. Then O&M focused models, OMT, lease, management contract, they are focused more on from the management O&M point. Then financial structuring models. Nowadays you might have heard about annuity funding of national highway projects, which is now being the norm for NHAI. And then design and delivery models. So what are these different models? This classification helps us understand not just what is built, but how risks and responsibilities are shared. Now because there are two parties, public and private, so how they are sharing their risks and responsibilities. So these are the core PPP models irrespective of their classification. So one is BOT, build, operate and transfer. So private entity builds, operates the assets for a fixed period, then transfers it to the government. Common in highways and toll roads, that you must have observed. Now BOOT means build, own, operate, transfer. So means we are handing over this property to private entity which owns the asset during the concession period. Now the period during which it operates, this is called concession period, and the party which is doing that, it is called a concessionaire. So concession period before transferring it, and then subsequently transfers it to the original owner. Who is the original owner? Public, government. Then next comes build, own. Here private entity builds it, owns and operates the asset indefinitely. Will it be possible in India? Because of our legal constraints and other things, it will not be it will not be possible to be implemented in India, because what happens, this entire property is transferred to the private entity, they own that particular asset or infrastructural asset, it is not transferred back to the government. So probably this is normally not, this will normally not apply in our case. Then BOLT, build, own, lease and transfer. So private party builds, leases the asset to the government, then transfers ownership after lease period. Then DBFO, these are the financing based. So design, build, finance and operate. Private party handles everything except ownership, used in complex infrastructures like airports. And then comes this DCMF, design, construct, management and finance. So private entity manages the asset post construction, often used in social infrastructure projects like schools and hospitals. Just as we were discussing कि हमारे पास स्टाफ कम है तो हम मैनेजमेंट भी उनको हैंड ओवर कर सकते हैं. सो डिजाइन, कंस्ट्रक्ट, मैनेजमेंट एंड फाइनेंस. These are O&M focused models. So OMT means operate, maintain, transfer. Say for example, now the first phase of build BOOT has been completed. Now we want further maintenance. So then we go for operation and maintenance focused models. Operate, maintain and transfer. So private party operates and maintains an existing assets, then hands it back, common in road upgrades. Then LDO, lease, develop and then operate. Private party leases an existing asset, upgrades it, operates it, used in ports and industrial zones. We may think of situations in our water resources sector where this, if any kind of this model can be, we can beneficially use of, because our structures, existing structures, they once a new structure comes up, its life is almost from 50 to 100 years. So and it requires frequent maintenance. Normally the infrastructure, water resources infrastructure such as canals, small gates, cross drainage structures, they start getting degraded, and because of paucity of funds for maintenance, problem arises and the entire infrastructure gradually gets degraded. And then again some new scheme has to come from the government. For example, this canal renovation and all relining and all those things. So that becomes more expensive if maintenance is properly taken care of. And if we can think of a scenario where PPP models can be put to use for O&M of our water resources structures, this will be probably much useful, but so far probably it has not yet been used. Then management contract. So government retains ownership, private party manages operations for a fee, often used in water supply or sanitation. So earlier we were seeing that first we hand it over to the private party which builds it, then owns it for operating for a certain period of time and then returns it back. Here the government retains ownership, private party manages operations for a fee, often used in water supply or sanitation. Then lease contract. So private party leases and operates the assets, bearing commercial risk, used in urban transport and facilities. Then financing based models, first is annuity. So, build own transfer, government pays fixed annuity to private party instead of allowing toll collection, reduces the revenue risk. Then hybrid annuity model, this is now being resorted to in substantial measure by NHAI, where government pays 40% or whatever percentage the government may decide, government pays 40% during construction, rest via annuity over time. Balance risk, it balances the risk between public and private sectors. So, the private sector can start work with much less fund. So, our pool of competition, pool of agencies coming for competition increases. Then EPC. EPC is not strictly a PPP model, but just for the sake of completion, I have it can also be used in PPP mode, but often used in tandem. Government funds and owns the project, private party executes it. Now, this is the comparison. So, all these slides, the entire presentation will be handed over to you, and because now we are short of time, we started a little late today. So, now I am not going into this comparison, right. You can go through them, all this BOT, BOOT, BOO, then compare OMT versus lease versus management contract, then HAM and BOT annuity. Here the features are for comparison are upfront government funding, then revenue risk and payment mode. So, HAM is now preferred in highway projects where toll revenue is uncertain. Particularly, you must have read probably a day or 2 days before, there was one news that because of introduction of FASTag, there has been some revenue loss to some concessionaire. So, government is going to compensate them for the loss of revenue because of introduction of this annual FASTags, not entire all the FASTags, but because of annual FASTags, there is going to be some loss to the concessionaire who is operating the toll. So, they will be compensated. Then sectoral suitability of these PPP models. So, for highways, BOT and HAM model is appropriate, ports, BOOT and lease, water supply, management contract lease, urban transport, OMT, DBFO, healthcare, DCMF, management contract. But then, and for water resources sector, can you let us go and just discuss which model may be more beneficial for water sector. I am putting the core PPP models here, just think over it and tell me, don't tell me simply ki this is suitable and why you think it will be suitable for a water resources project, or if any of these models can be introduced in water resources field. There are two aspects of water resources because their life is quite long, from 50 years to 100 years. So, one is during the period of construction and another is for operation and maintenance. So, we can think of two different categories and then think of this, whether we can go for new construction, adopting PPP model for new construction, and whether we can go for adopting PPP model for maintenance, operation and maintenance. Okay, think over it, and certainly this can be introduced. This is my personal feeling. So, we were here, we observed what are the different types of PPP models, key differences in their scope, risk and payment terms. Now, we come to this contract life cycle overview. Yesterday we saw the different steps from the point of view of what are the challenges that may arise. Here again, but with slightly different language from the point of view of managing a contract. So, first stage is pre-engagement and qualification. You have not yet executed your agreement at present, but your whatever you are doing for procurement of a particular works or services or goods, it's whatever from the start of NIT, that will become part of your agreement at a later date. Whatever correspondences you do with your contractor or different bidders to clarify the things, all that the correspondence becomes part of agreement when the agreement is executed. So it starts with pre-engagement and qualification, then contracting and scope definition. Your contract documents must be very clear, explicitly saying what is the scope of work, compliance and documentation. We will explore these. Then onboarding and induction. Now what do we mean by onboarding and induction? As we hand over the site to the contractor, there are certain things, certain formalities to be done by the contractor and the department. How the things will be done, how the people will be coming, whether they will be carrying their identity cards, how the labor will be accommodated. There are many things to be seen. So all these things must be done in a particular time frame, because time period of completion starts 10 days after issuing the letter of work of award of work, sorry. So then performance monitoring, this is very important. Being junior engineer, this is the most important thing that you will be doing in the field. Whatever you record in your measurement book at the time of measurement, that becomes an evidence in the court of law. If you are recording a measurement in the measurement book, it is supposed that you have checked the dimensional accuracy of the work that you are certifying. It means that you certify that quality is okay of the work that you have measured and entered in the measurement book. So it is very important. But before entering in the measurement book, there are other things also. For example, you need to assess what are your milestones and how my progress is going on. Then payment and change management. We will go to that, and final evaluation and close out. Probably this is the most neglected part, that once the contractor has completed the work, the contractor's evaluation must be carried out, so that in future if he bids, the bid inviting agency, bid inviting officer must know about the performance of the tender executor. So pre-engagement checklist, you already do all these things: company registration, PAN, GST verification, then technical and financial capability. Yesterday we discussed in detail. Past performance and references to be checked. Here references checked means what? There are certain credentials which contractors submit for in proof of their eligibility. How are you going to check it? Verify from the source whether this has been really issued by you. I was working as superintending engineer at Dekha Sahab in Farakka Barrage project. I found one credential issued under my sign only. I said, I do not remember this. And when we checked, we found that it was forged. So you must check those credentials from the original source. So when you are planning your procurement, you must give sufficient time for this process. Then blacklisting status confirmed. Before you shortlist or qualify a bidder, this must be checked. CVC, CPWD or different departments nowadays on website they put it. So check from there if he has been blacklisted. Then safety and labor law compliance and readiness. This is very important, particularly labor laws. We will go to that. And then PQ pitfall, pre-qualification pitfall. इसमें आपको बिल्कुल सतर्क रहना है. Yesterday we had discussed in detail about PQ pitfalls. If you want, just I will go through in a cursory manner. In fact, this is the OM of CVC, where they have given many examples of what are the pitfalls of PQ at PQ stage. This has been issued on 17th of December 2002. So, I will not go into the details of this, you can go through them, but in brief why it is important, because PQ criteria, as I yesterday also I told, they are the gatekeepers of ethical procurement. It ensures that the start of your work is at least ethical. Then these are the common irregularities we discussed yesterday. Best practices for PQ framing, that is define similar work clearly and contextually. Then scope of work also should be your very clearly defined. Match turnover and experience to actual project scope. So, for the criteria for eligibility, the turnover and experience should not be excessive, because that will limit the field of competition. Then use objective parameters for this, for example, turnover and experience, this criteria is given, and then include performance, personal, equipment criteria, which we normally verify these credentials, and then avoid unrelated conditions, for example, superfluous certifications. So, the goal of this eligibility, fixing the eligibility, is to attract people, capable, reputable firms, not restrict competition. So, these case studies yesterday we discussed. So, this is what in a nutshell that PQ criteria. So, avoid these pitfalls, no arbitrary conditions, no vague cutoff dates, and no bundling of unrelated work. Yesterday I gave you an example of bundling of false ceiling work and the AC ducting work. Both are unrelated, and it will be very difficult for you to find one single agency which does both the works. Now, what are the contracting essentials? First of all, your contract documents clearly state what is your scope of work, whether site is available or not. BOQ. In BOQ, the items, if it is an item rate contract, you should strictly maintain the wordings as given in your schedule of rates. That is very important. And then what are the deliverables? Means you can say deliverables and also your milestones. Then drawings and technical specifications must be attached. The drawing should not be sketchy, right? They should be, they should give sufficient details for working. Any tenderer who is bidding for a particular work must know in detail what work he is going to do. So that he can make his own estimate based on those drawings. Then indemnity, liquidated damages and termination clauses, these are some of very important. Escalation matrix and dispute resolution. Escalation, when this escalation will be applicable. DRB, dispute resolution, DRB and arbitration. What is DRB? Dispute review board, and then arbitration. Interface points and coordination defined. Normally interface, the single most important interface is executive engineer. In the field, first interface is junior engineer, then your subdivisional engineer or assistant engineer, AEE, and then above that, who is not directly related with the execution, is office of the superintending engineer and the circle. Risk management in contracts. So, what are the different types of risks? Technical risks, then financial risks, cost overruns, payment delays. With the introduction of GEM, probably GEM has not yet been, GEM has been introduced in Brahmaputra board, but probably PFMS has not yet been introduced. So, payment delays may occur, but then if payment delays occur and GEM has been GEM, you are working on GEM, then it is likely that all the procuring entities, they may get flagged, they may be having red flags if payment delays occur on your part. Moreover, for MSMEs, if there is payment delay, the government has prescribed certain interest to be paid for the period of delay. So, you should keep this in mind. Then what are the legal risks when there are non-compliance to contractual terms, and then disputes. We will go into the disputes. बिलो का कोई लिमिटेशन नहीं है. हाँ, एक हमारा कल हमने किया था, एक स्लाइड था कल, अनफॉर्चुनेटली टाइम, बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ टाइम वी कुडंट डू. Abnormally low quoted bids, how will you identify? If they have quoted 50%, you are, and that bidder is L1, now you are fully justified to seek from him how you are going to execute this work in whatever rates you have quoted. Please submit your analysis of rates. हाँ, नहीं, analysis of rates, एनालिसिस ऑफ रेट्स के साथ देगा. देन यू गो इनटू यू गो डीपर इनटू दैट एनालिसिस ऑफ रेट्स एंड देन यू विल फाइंड कि उसने वहां कहां पे रेट उसने गलत ले लिया है. फॉर एग्जांपल, सपोज इफ ही इज डूइंग इट बाय फंडिंग. कई जगह कैसे होता है कि अगर फंडिंग बाहर से लेके उसको करना है, द बिडर मे नॉट हैव अकाउंटेड फॉर द इंटरेस्ट दैट इज टू बी पेड. या इंटरेस्ट आज की डेट में अगर आप मार्केट से उठाते हो 12%, 14%, 18% इंटरेस्ट लगता है. वो दे मे हैव टेकन एन इंटरेस्ट रेट ऑफ 2% और 4%. देयर विल बी सब्सटेंशियल डिफरेंस. सो इफ इट इज अ बिग प्रोजेक्ट, 50% below the amount has come, you ask for the analysis of rates, ask for the sources of funding, ask for what machines you already have and what machines you need to procure, and then you will find. Because what may happen, suppose there is some old reputed firm with big resources, it may happen that they may have machines whose cost that firm has already recovered. Say for example 6-7 years of regular working of a bulldozer, if it is placed in the field by a contractor, more or less its cost must have been recovered by the type of work that it has executed, or quantum of work that has been executed. Because every machine has an hourly use rate. How this hourly use rate is arrived at? Expenses required for running that machine for 1 hour. Now, what are the expenses? Right from procurement, operation and maintenance, POL, that is fuel, etc. Then manpower required to run it, storage required, transport required, all these costs are analyzed and then hourly use rate is worked out. अगर कभी आपके यहाँ ऐसा कोई होगा, ये particularly we describe all these things in preparation of estimates, how to work out hourly use rates. So this hourly use rate, hourly use rate they are prescribing, but there are certain things where there are built up items or some machines it may not be available. Then you can have your own hourly use rates. So once you go deeper into that analysis of rates, you will find out. And then if you have doubt, frame your questions pointedly, where you think the rates are under quoted. How you frame your questions will be very important, and then ask the information. नहीं, ऐसा कोई नहीं है. L1 को तो वर्क अलॉट करना है, particularly if L1 is class 1 local supplier, make in India provision that we yesterday discussed, है ना. class 1 local supplier, if he comes out to be L1, उसको देना ही देना है. above में limitation है. लोअर साइड में CPWD वर्क्स मैनुअल के जो पुराने वॉल्यूम्स है ना, फॉर एग्जांपल पुराने एडिशंस, फॉर एग्जांपल 2002 या 2001, अगर आपको कहीं लाइब्रेरी में मिल जाए. I had one book that I had purchased when I was posted as executive engineer NEID 3 Itanagar. I said I had gone to Delhi and I procured it because we don't find anything at that time. We couldn't find anything in Itanagar. So I procured that, and that book I have retained till date. Well, nowadays, when the CPWD works manual has been simplified, but there are many aspects which have been left out from those manuals. So in that in those editions, this was given when what happens when there is abnormally low coated rate. So here, for the sake of simplification, now they have not specified, because this is an era of competition. Somebody may say कि हाँ मैं अपने लॉस खा के भी मैं काम करूंगा because I want to build my credentials. फील्ड में क्वालिटी मेंटेन करना टफ हो जाता है. देयर द परफॉर्मेंस एंड मॉनिटरिंग फॉर यू विल बिकम एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट. ऐसा कोई प्रोविजन नहीं है. परफॉर्मेंस गारंटी, सी whatever has been given in your NIT, और NIT के साथ ही आपका वो टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट भी अपलोड हो जाता है, ठीक है ना. देन you don't make any changes, or if any changes are to be made, then again all the bidders have to be informed and rebidding has to be done if bids have been received. There is no question of any change. Once you have published NIT, no change. It is for you to judge कि इतने में ये काम कर पाएगा कि नहीं कर पाएगा. Engineer in charge, he is the sole authority for the contractor. For the department, he is not the sole authority, he is the authority for a specific purpose. उसके भी ऊपर फिर SE है, chief engineer है, and all above authorities are there in the hierarchy. But he will have to exercise his judgment whether this is acceptable or not, and then invariably, yesterday that slide was shown in a hurried manner. Every comparative statement of whatever nature, of whatever type of contract, whichever committee is examining and getting prepared this your comparative statement, they must comment on reasonability of rates with their sign and signature and seal. Without that, no comparative statement is complete. There are many people, right? When I was posted at Farakka Barrage project, the down below there was a resistance कि नहीं साहब हमारा काम तो सिर्फ कंपैरिजन करके आपको दे देना है, आप जज करो. फरक्का was a very difficult place to work in those days, right? आप दूसरे लोगों से पूछना, because this thing is being recorded in your YouTube, so I will not speak much, but it was very difficult. But then at that point of time, when you have your knowledge, excuse me, आप बाहर जाके बात कर लीजिए, यहां मत बात करिए. यहां बात करना है तो इधर अटेंशन दीजिए. I get disturbed, है ना. I'm sorry, अगर आप बात करने से मना नहीं है, you can please go out and speak. What I was saying, but if you have the solid backing of rules, knowledge of rules, then you can handle all these situations, because everybody is bound by rules of service, rules of works, and manual and guidelines and all these things, and it is very clearly written. That's why I was saying to you yesterday that original source, importance of original source. Whatever I am saying, don't take it कि हाँ ये हो गया पूरा काम. No, you will have to go and read it. I am just giving you a glimpse of the things. You need to go and study the original source. There are many finer points. Similarly, for comparative statement, it is clearly written that they must comment on reasonability, reasonability of rates, and they must certify. This is very important. And how this mitigation is done, risk registers, एक बहुत important register होता है हमारे field में, that is hindrance register, है ना. So it should be opened whenever the work starts. If no hindrance comes, it's your good luck. But if hindrance comes, normally in engineering works, hindrances will come, right, normally, because you are working in field, there are many imponderables, unforeseeable things. Insurance, buffer clauses, so all these things introduce risks of different types. Now compliance and governance, you know, labor law compliance, and you mind it, the labor engaged by the contractor, even though it is being they are being engaged by the contractor, you are responsible for them as per law. The agency which hires them, contractor is using them on your behalf, so you are responsible for them. So it is your duty to ensure that PF, ESI wages as per law is paid to them. And there are other labor welfare measures. You might see those in GCC, General Clauses of Contract. It is a published booklet by CPWD which invariably forms a part of all the agreements, right. So in that also the labor laws etc. are given, and then labor inspectors also come for inspection of your work sites, whether those laws are being complied with or not, they are being followed or not. And then insurance, workman compensation, liability and equipment, these things must be clear in your contracts. Statutory and environmental clearance, this is before your start of work, and during the progress of the work you must also ensure that these are not violated. For example, once environmental clearance has been given, then at later stage also we must see that these are being followed, because there are normally environmental or forest clearance is given with certain conditions, that you will fulfill these conditions. So it is your duty to ensure that those conditions are fulfilled. Then there are coastal zone regulations. यहाँ तो नहीं है, आपके jurisdiction में नहीं आएगा, लेकिन similar things happen in coastal zone regulations. Then CVC guidelines and CPWD manuals. You can also add to them the procurement guidelines issued by Government of India, Ministry of Finance, Department of Expenditure. Valid है, हाँ, एंटी इरोजन, यस, हाँ, यस. अब इसमें क्या होता है, जस्ट ए मिनट, वाटर रिसोर्सेज स्पेसिफिक, अनफॉर्चुनेटली क्या हुआ, व्हेन देयर, थोड़ा सा हिस्ट्री में जाना पड़ेगा. पहले जब CWC के पहले क्या था, है ना, CWC first it was a very big organization including all the components, water, power, then your navigation, right. So all swing, it used to be called swing, then it became CWPC, Central Water and Power Commission, in due course, I think in 70s. Till 70s it remained CWPC. Then subsequently what happened, that electricity, central electricity was forked out from here and it became Central Water Commission. With time your CSMRS, which was earlier part of belonged to within the organization, and CWPRS, they also got forked out. So it remained only Central Water Commission. CWPC had its own manual of working, means from the beginning they had framed a manual, though it's on the line of CPWD code. There is also a very important publication, that is CPWD code. How do you define what is the duty of a junior engineer, what is the duty of what are the duties of SDE, what are the duties of E, what are the duties of SE, what are the duties of chief engineer, DG works, or and all those things. They are all defined in CPWD works. CPWD code, CPW departmental code. What we are seeing is CPWD works manual, but that CPWD code supplements it, CPWD works manual. There is also one CPWA code, Central Public Works Accounts Code, that also clarifies many of the things. हाँ, इसका ना मैं आपको अनफॉर्चुनेटली इस बार टाइम कम है, मैंने डेका साहब से भी बात किया कि ये हाउ दिस हैज कम टू बी अडॉप्टेड, इसकी पूरी हिस्ट्री है. आई हैव ब्रॉट आउट. It starts from the times of Britishers. Britishers made one public works department. So all have to follow the, whenever there are public works to be done, it will be done by public works department, all government public works. All works were included in that. Gradually it started differentiated. So when in 1945 this Central Water Commission and its predecessor was established, at that point of time again those public works, whatever guidelines of public works department, it is written in the government resolution that they will be followed. So gradually with the passage of time, and Central Water Commission was declared as works organization. There are there are two types of organization. First thing is, all public works in the government will be done by a public works department, that is CPWD. That is why many of the departments which are not engineering departments, all their works is done by CPWD. Then there are certain other organizations also which have been given this type of authority, or you can say they have been allowed to take up work on their own because they have their own engineering setup. For example, your military engineering service, right? For example, ISRO. Now they don't engage, there are exceptions to this, right? CWC was also one of the works organization. Now everybody in CWC itself has lost sight of that, कि हमको works organization का power already है. In CWC also they say कि CPWD को दे दो construction का काम, right? Because अब हमने कल देखा एक power एक consultant PSU which has offered hundreds of consultancies to different departments, engaged a consultant for their own construction work, right? So these are the things that happen, and these are unfortunate. But then those works department which were authorized, which were allowed to take up work because they had their own engineering setup, government guidelines, they should follow the public works department's guidelines and manuals. So that is how we follow them, right? And we had one manual which was geared from the point of view of water resources in CWPC, but unfortunately after that CWPC became Central Water Commission, nobody thought that to revise. So what is the situation now? There is one phrase, Latin phrase, that is mutatis mutandis. So now CPWD works manual is applicable mutatis mutandis. What is means mutatis mutandis? It means as it may apply, means with suitable modifications. अब बिल्डिंग लिखा है, आपको डैम देखना होगा, तो डैम के लिए क्या क्या चेंज लगेंगे, बट the essence should remain the same. It should not contravene those provisions of CPWD works manual. Yesterday I was giving you about the hierarchical nature. Now CPWD works manual is only a guideline. It should not contravene the procurement guidelines of the government. उसके भी ऊपर GFR and DFPR. All your procurement guidelines cannot be in contravention to any of the GFR or DFPR. And DFR के ऊपर, GFR के ऊपर नहीं, वो तो CBC गाइडलाइन तो नीचे आ गया. CBC गाइडलाइन, गवर्नमेंट की गाइडलाइन, ये सब एक साथ हो गया. अब क्या उसके ऊपर क्या, मैंने कल आपको एक स्लाइड दिखाया था, हियरार्किकल नेचर, एट द टॉप देयर इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, वो आपका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एनफोर्स करने के लिए, पब्लिक अकाउंट्स कमेटी विच एग्जामिन्स द गवर्नमेंट अकाउंट्स, राइट। तो ये हियरार्किकल नेचर है, मतलब योर CPWD वर्क्स मैनुअल मस्ट नॉट बी इन कंट्रावेंशन ऑफ the guidelines which lies over them, the laws which lie over them, and obviously no law can be violated by any manual or guidelines. Law always takes precedence. चलिए जल्दी चलते हैं, डिस्कस करेंगे तो नहीं हो पाएगा. I have to leave by 11. It is now already 11:02. Performance monitoring, progress tracking versus milestones, I already discussed. Quality inspections and NCR. NCR means non-conformance reports. Safety audits and incident logs, this must be maintained. Normally कई जगह miss कर जाते हैं लोग. Then weekly coordination meetings, they are very important. These should not be missed. And subcontractor feedback loop, wherever there are subcontractors engaged, there must be proper monitoring of the what subcontractor is doing. Though subcontractor is engaged by the main contractor, but then you must monitor what is going on, because ultimately if there is a dispute between contractor and subcontractor, the impact will be on the progress of your work. Payment and change management, we will not go to this. Then e-tendering platforms. So as you introduce your digital tools, the compliance becomes easier, because GEM has already introduced all the procurement guidelines of the government, Make in India provision and other things. So it becomes simplified for you, and moreover it becomes traceability, efficiency and compliance. E-office में जब आप काम करते हैं, now everything is before you, who has recorded what, easily traceable, efficiency increases. Nowadays यहाँ पे हम आज फाइल बनाते हैं, आज ही शाम को दिल्ली पहुंच जाती है अप्रूवल के लिए, और 6 बजते बजते अप्रूवल भी आ जाता है. सो efficiency has increased, communication has become extremely fast, and your responsibilities and tension has increased manifold because of that. Now final evaluation and close out, this is the last stage कि आप फाइनल इंस्पेक्शन करते हैं, है ना. नॉर्मली CPWD वर्क्स मैनुअल के हिसाब से ऐसी इश्यूज दी completion certificate, but before that final inspection has to be done. Then non-compliance register must be seen, checked whether all those events that have been mentioned, including snags, whether they have been rectified, they have been completed. Then completion certificate is issued and then warranties are ensured. जैसे हमारे सिविल वर्क्स में 1 साल का डिफेक्ट कवर होता है. Then retention money release, whatever performance guarantee has been adjusted, security deposit has been adjusted, whatever is remains. And documentation, आपका ये पूरा का पूरा documentation, once the work has been completed, completion certificate लगा के पूरा document बना के एक box file बना के आप store कर लीजिए. Generally we miss it. Then performance rating for future improvement. So these are the things that are required at different stages of time. And then this was very important thing that I wanted to tell you, but now time doesn't permit, because otherwise I will be missing my flight. So but this is given here, right. This will be supplied to you. Common claims are related to time extension, cost escalation, force measure, and different types of dispute resolution. One is negotiation, आपस में बात कर लिया, simple है. Dispute review board, ये भी एक review board जो both parties agree that yes, we will have this review board where independent experts are there. If a problem comes, both go to them, tell them कि आप problems का solution suggest करो. They may suggest the solution, but it is not binding on them. They may agree, both the parties may agree, may not agree. Similarly, similar situation is the conciliation, कि आपने एक मीडिएटर बैठा लिया, इनफॉर्मल तो नहीं कहना चाहिए, मीडिएटर बना लिया, मीडिएटर के थ्रू मीडिएटर ने आपको कुछ एक सॉल्यूशन दिया, बट देन बोथ द पार्टीज और वन ऑफ द पार्टी मे नॉट एग्री टू इट, सो इट इज नॉट बाइंडिंग. देन कम्स द आर्बिट्रेशन. आर्बिट्रेशन का जो अवार्ड है इट विल बी बाइंडिंग. You can appeal against arbitration award in Supreme Court, right? So, and then if arbitration fails, अगर arbitration से भी काम नहीं हुआ, we are not agreeing for arbitration, then normal litigation, फिर आप कोर्ट में लड़िए. So the Arbitration and Reconciliation is governed by Arbitration and Reconciliation Act 1996 as amended from time to time. This one is the latest to 2015. There are certain case studies given here. आप ये case studies को देख लीजिए और case studies का डिटेल भी इसमें आपको मटेरियल में दिया हुआ है. जैसे different types of disputes क्या हैं, ये है जैसे टेंडरिंग एंड बिड इवैल्यूएशन डिस्प्यूट्स. तो एक केस स्टडी दिया हुआ है कि व्हाट वाज द कॉज, व्हाट वाज द एग्जांपल एंड केस स्टडी एंड आउटकम. स्कोप एंड स्पेसिफिकेशन डिस्प्यूट्स, फॉर एग्जांपल कॉज मिस इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ टेक्निकल स्पेसिफिकेशंस और स्कोप ऑफ वर्क. ए कॉन्ट्रैक्टर इंस्टॉल्स मटेरियल्स, ये हमको बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन में हो सकता है आए, इंस्टॉल्स मटेरियल्स डीम्ड इक्विवेलेंट बट नॉट एक्सप्लिसिटली अप्रूव्ड. मतलब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ने दूसरी टाइल्स लगाई सिमिलर टाइप की बट दूसरी टाइल विदाउट टेकिंग अप्रूवल. मैटर वेंट टू आर्बिट्रेशन और द क्लाइंट विथहेल्ड पेमेंट, मतलब डिपार्टमेंट ने रोक लिया. द आर्बिट्रेटर रूल्ड इन फेवर ऑफ द क्लाइंट, मतलब इन फेवर ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट ड्यू टू नॉन कंप्लायंस विद स्पेसिफिकेशन. तो ये डिफरेंट टाइप्स हैं. डिले इन एक्सटेंशन ऑफ टाइम के डिस्प्यूट्स, पेमेंट एंड प्राइस एस्केलेशन डिस्प्यूट्स, then termination and blacklisting disputes, then force majeure and COVID-19 related disputes. force majeure disputes भी कई बार आते हैं. force majeure consider करें कि नहीं करें, और इतना आसान नहीं होता है. ये जो है ना, ये COVID-19 में force majeure consider करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे, सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक गया है ये मामला. सो force majeure है कि नहीं है, इट इज, हमको लगता है कि ये तो बिल्कुल सिंपल है, अर्थक्वेक आया, काम रुक गया, खत्म हो गया. लेकिन कब तक रुका, क्या क्या डैमेजेस हुए, हाउ टू रिकंसाइल दोज थिंग्स, और फिर उसके बाद काम कब शुरू करना चाहिए था, आपने कब किया. देयर आर मेनी कॉम्प्लिकेशंस अराइज इफ ए फोर्स मेजर कंडीशन ऑकर्स. देन डिस्प्यूट्स ओवर लिक्विडेटेड डैमेजेस, दिस इज आल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ इट इज, रिमेंबर, वी डू नॉट यूज वर्ड पेनल्टी. वी आर नॉट एम्पावर्ड टू इम्पोज पेनल्टी ऑन एनीवन. दैट इज द जॉब ऑफ कोर्ट्स. सो वी impose liquidated damages for as compensation for delayed performance. So never use the word penalty, otherwise you will lose in arbitration or court. How these disputes are resolved, ये मैंने बताया आपको, negotiation, mediation, consultation, arbitration, litigation. अब हमारा होता है समय समाप्त, है ना. मुझे 11 बजे निकलना था, 11:10 हो रहा है. So आप लोगों को थैंक यू वेरी मच. एंड आई हैव डिस्कस विद मिस्टर डेका कि अगर संभव हो, क्योंकि हम कल के टॉपिक के साथ जस्टिस नहीं कर पाए हैं, है ना, बिकॉज ऑफ शॉर्टेज ऑफ टाइम एंड ऑल. यू वर एग्जॉस्टेड बाय 5:30. आई वाज सीइंग योर फेसेस. नहीं, वी कंटिन्यूड अप टू 6, बट बाय 5:30 you were all, you were not present in the presentation. So we I have asked him if they feel comfortable, then we can manage an online session on these topics, and then we will further discuss it, right? So thank you very much. चलिए, एक इसको बैकग्राउंड में रख के आप मेरा एक फोटो खींच दीजिए. कल विक्रम, कल का फोटो भी नहीं मिला मुझे. हाँ, एक फोटो तो थैंक यू. पीछे का भी आ रहा है ना. चलिए, थैंक यू. हैं, अच्छा यहाँ पे, हाँ यहाँ पे भी ले सकते हैं. आप लोग भी आ जाते फोटो सब. अच्छा, पहले सिंगल ले लीजिए. मेरे ख्याल से इधर आना पड़ेगा अपने को. मुझे ना एक इसमें एडिट करना पड़ेगा. कल जो मैंने किया था इसको